Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shadowed City podcast. I am your host, Larry, and this is IWA Warroom, episode 53. And we are going to review the recent house show. We are going to review the greatest show that happened for IWA. Both spectacular events. If you missed them, go check them out. And we got a lot to cover. The boss man has been dealing with some personal stuff with his dog and life, so our prayers and love are out to him. But IWA, the Grand Royale, is next week, where we will have a career versus title match. We will have a man's last match there. And we will also have the actual Grand Royale matches for the men and women's, the Crown Jewel Championship on the line, Women's Championship on the line. The Tag Women's Championships on the line. The IWA Championship on the line. Great stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Great stuff. I hope you all are excited and ready for it. And to kick us off, we are going to go over IWA, the greatest show. And what happened at that event? There was a bonus match that was added, but we had to crown our Mr. IWA and Miss IWA. And to kick us off, it was for the IWA Peer TV Championship. Excuse me. And it was between Lewis West walking in against his rival, the champion Xiaolong King. And Xiaolong King and him went to war for the belt, no doubt. And you could tell the grudge, the hatred that these two have for one another. And in the end, Lewis West walked out the new Peer TV champion, taking the gold back, and these men are 1-1, so they gotta have a third eventually. Wonder when it's gonna happen. Probably at Wrestle Madness or even Rise of the Phoenix, which should also be a spectacular event for IWA. Stay tuned for that. We had a Monsters Ball, 1 of 3, and it was between Brick Savage, the Carolina Cracker, the Tattooed Wrestler, the Deathmatch Juggalo, Brian White, and against Rusty Steele. And that match was incredible. It was very hard-hitting, full of nonstop action and violence. Rusty Steele tried everything he could. Brick Savage tried everything he could. Brian White did everything he could. And in the end, it was Brian White advancing to the final triple threat match, which took place at the IWA House Showcase, defeating Brick and Rusty Steele. We also crowned our Miss IWA, which was the third matchup, and it was an 8-women pack challenge elimination. It was chaotic from the start, and you had these 8 ladies looking to become Miss IWA: Hiva Frost, Crystal, you had Athena, you had War Maiden, you had Quinn Kushida, you had Angelina West, you had Jen, and you also had Chanel Baltimore. Welcome, Vexy. Welcome. Hope you are there. Hope you are well. Hope you are well. Going over some stuff for IWA War Room today. Pretty good stuff. And during this match, it was elimination style. Chanel Baltimore got one elimination. Angelina West got two eliminations. Quinn Kushida got one elimination. I'm happy to hear it, Vexy. I'm happy to hear it. And Kyva Frost got three eliminations. But even though she got the most eliminations, it came down to her and Angelina. And in the end, Angelina West walked out Miss IWA. Congrats to her. Congrats to her. Next up, we crowned the first ever Mr. IWA. And that one was also just as insane, if not more chaotic. And it was between CJ Frost, Buck Norris, Wildman, BJ, The Mighty, Big Bad Baby Daddy, MG, and Leo Blade. And this was an 8-man gauntlet eliminator. CJ Frost with one elimination, Wildman with one elimination, Leo Blade with one elimination. Fuck Norris and Mighty got two eliminations each. It came down to Leo Blade and CJ Frost. But in the end, Mr. IWA, Leo Blade won, becoming Mr. IWA. Congrats to him. Incredible. Incredible. IWA, the greatest show. This really was one of the greatest shows ever. There was a bonus match added between DMP. I want to take a minute to talk about DMP for real, like out of this, like not in character. He got hurt, and we're really hoping for a speedy recovery. So we're praying for you, Daniel Patterson. We are praying for you. Much love, brother. But during that night, he took on MG, DMP versus MG, and MG walked out victorious after saying that he would fight him after DMP wanted the match, but DMP put up a good fight. He did not go anywhere, and he did not go down without a fight. So don't take anything away from that man. MG was upset that he lost Mr. IWA, but look what he did. He won himself a match. IWA X Division Championship on the line. Now, we originally thought that Zach Stacks was going to walk in for JCJ as we thought he was still recovering from injury. But no, JCJ made it, and he went on to defend his championship against Devo Riot, and he won and retained. Devo had his partner Amen at his side, while Zach Stacks was at JCJ's side, but that was not the last we saw of Zach Stacks, which we saw later, which we shall get to later. Monsters Ball number 2 between George Stubbs the Govna versus Scar versus the Phantom Eddie Walker. All three monsters went to war, but in the end, the Phantom Eddie Walker walked out victorious. The next Monsters Ball, Marco Santana versus Joker versus the Reaper, Dime Bag Dan, and Marco Santana walked away victorious. So it became Eddie Walker, Brian White, and Marco Santana at the IWA House Case show, which we shall go over after we're done going for this magnificent card. IWA Peer TV Women's Championship. Jen versus the champion War Maiden. The only time War Maiden was pinned was during the Miss IWA when she was pinned by Quinn Kushida, her first ever loss. Jen put up a good fight, but War Maiden retained the gold in such a ferocious fashion. Take nothing away from Jen, though. Then there was a backstage brawl that ended in madness. We had Aguilo versus Zach Stacks versus Bloodstone versus Zilla Fatu. Good to see Zilla here in IWA, and I can't wait to see what he does going forward. And these four men went to war And in the end, it came down to Zilla and Zach Stacks, and Zilla walked out victorious, but this led to a match between them at the IWA House Showcase, which we shall go over. And then we had the first ever in this company's history IWA Tag Team Championships on the line. Hell in a Cell, Pure Rules, which is Iron Man rules. Welcome, Sue XZ. I hope you are well. It was the Standard, Tucker Watson, Pierre Stone, the challengers, taking on the champions, the 8th Day, Hunter and Scott Stevenson. And these teams have been to war before. The 8th Day took the titles from the Standard. And in the end, it was a war. It could have gone either way. But in the end, the Standard reclaimed their throne as the tag team champions yet again. In a historic main event, first time ever. That was just epic, amazing, spectacular. Excuse me. It was grand, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. Now, we're going to go over the IWA House Showcase. Now, to kick off the show, Lewis West recently winning the Pure TV Championship, went out to defend it. Who was his challenger going to be? It turned out to be Lil Sicko from SPW. It was insane. This match was incredible, and it was good to see Lil Sicko here in IWA. And in the end, Lil Sicko walked out the new champion. And we also found out speaking of SPW, Logan Slater will be returning to IWA very soon. We shall see him back soon, so stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. Next up was a fatal four-way between VJ, Joker, Shaolin King, and MG. All four men looking to prove a point, to get out that frustration and anger. Welcome, Jason Miller. Hello, good sir. I hope you are well. And in the end, Shaolin King walked out victorious. All four men put up a fight, but Shaolin King walked out victorious that night. Next up was Crystal King versus Amy, and Crystal King was very upset after losing Miss IWA. But Amy put up a good fight, but then Crystal King came up out of nowhere and won victoriously. Then we had the match that was made from The Greatest Show, Zilla Fatu versus Zach Stacks. And in the end, it was a battle, a war, whatever you like to call it, a test of wills. Zach Stacks walked away victorious. Britt Graves versus Chanel Baltimore. Now this one was a ruthless one. Two hard hitters, two ruthless ladies that show no mercy and love for their opponents. And Britt Graves walked away victorious. Next up was a grudge match because during the Mr. IWA match, BBBD, Big Bad Baby Daddy, threw a fireball in Mighty's face, and Mighty was not too happy. So this led to this grudge match. And then the Mighty walked out victorious, getting his redemption against the man that gave him a fireball. Next up was a 6 ladies battle royal that featured Charlie Williams of Hostility, Jackie Tyson of Hustle and Money, Kira Riot from SPW, Jen, the goddess of the Black Art Gallery, and Riley of Ladies Liberty's Demise. And in the end, Jackie Tyson walked away victorious out of nowhere, and it was incredible. Congrats to her. That lady always puts on a show every time she enters. All these ladies put on a show, but Jackie always finds that last will to come out on top somehow. It's just incredible. She's really up there at the top for a reason, you know what I'm saying? Primetime JoJo versus Matthew Crowley. And now this one was also very epic if y'all missed it. Two athletes looking to prove themselves here that have came in time and time before. I believe Matthew Crowley used to go, I don't want to say it was Severus Crowley. I'm not really sure on that. I never really got confirmation on that. But he had the same last name, but he looks different and has a different name. So I guess we'll have to wait and see who that really is. But Matthew Crowley defeated JoJo, but it was a very high-paced matchup between both competitors. Congrats to both men. Here TV Championship on the line as Quinn Kushida, the woman that first ever pinned War Maiden, War Maiden defended her championship against her. And Quinn Kushida walked out the new champion. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible. Was wild. And in the main event, a triple threat monsters ball for the number one contenders for the world championship at Phoenix Rising. Marco Santana versus the Carolina Cracker, the tattooed wrestler, the deathmatch juggalo, Brian White versus the Phantom Eddie Walker. And in the end, the Phantom Eddie Walker is the new number one contender to the World Championship for IWA. Well, the IWA Championship, to be exact. Welcome, Tabitha Harper. Hope you are well. And those is what I had to go over for IWA, ladies and gentlemen. But next week, February 28th, IWA, the Grand Royale goes down. You don't want to miss it. We'll have 2 Grand Royale matches for both the men and the ladies. A Hell in a Cell title versus career 60-minute Iron Man Hell in a Cell. The Women's Tag Championships. The Crown Jewel Championship. We have a Western match. And we have the IWA Championship. It's going to be spectacular, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss it. And that's what I had to go over at the moment. Stay tuned for more. I hope everybody has a great day, good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever y'all may be. Peace out.